We're live. We are now
We're
live.
live.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good and bad. How are you?
I am good and bad. I'm also good and bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably most of the world is good and bad. So I don't know if anybody's out there. If anybody is watching
Oh,
this, uh-oh,
I
where
feel
did
like
you
I
just
just
go?
lost you.
I just lost you. I can see myself. Oh shit. Now, what's going on now? Why? Why? Why must? Now I can definitely see myself because I just flicked over to YouTube. And now it's just me. Now I'm just on the screen by myself. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go. Ah,
Hello?
there you go. We're
Is
back.
that the first time that's happened?
That is the first time that's happened. But every week there is something. Oh, you just
Okay.
gone again. You've just gone again. Oh my god. Um. All right. So I don't know if Saya's going to come back. It's going to be a pretty boring chats with mate if it's just me. So last week with Joe Tawadros, I had a huge issue with the audio, which I eventually resolved. And now this time, Saya Vogel up in Queensland is she's just not here. Now she's joining. I can add her back to the stream. You back?
I'm concerned about this.
I don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, we were just chatting like off air for like half an hour or something. It was fine. All right, let's just talk heaps right now because you're on the screen. All right, so everybody, I can see comments coming through. I can see. Oh yes, there's the regular gang. Hello everybody. Hi
Hi,
guys.
everyone. Hi.
Hi. Okay,
It's
so
weird that I can't see any comments.
oh you can't. Yeah, no, you don't get to see them because you're a guest. Only the moderator gets to see them. So oh, you've gone again. You've gone. Well, this is great. Well, while Saya's sorting herself out, I'll introduce her, even though she's not actually here. So Saya Vogel is a dear old friend of mine from years ago that we made friends on the touring circuit, and she's was in the band Secondin, a like seminal Aussie synth pop band that was signed to Modular. Modular is the super hip label, and was also signed to. Oh, there you're back. Just talking about you. Also signed to Redline Records, which we'll talk about a bit later because that's actually Kev Mitchell's label back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was just introducing you, by the way.
Oh.
So, and also a singer and songwriter in your own right with your own music that you perform under the name Saya.
Very creative.
Yeah. And also, which we'll also talk about later, you make amazing felt instruments, which I can't wait to. I learned how to do screen sharing this week, so I'm going to be doing a bit of screen sharing later on. And also, you are, and this is actually where I first met you. You are a touring member of the Regurgitator.
Mm-hmm. I have been. I'm sort of. I have been in and out of Regurgitator.
Oh, is there
Not
gossip?
not
It sounds like.
no.
Did you get kicked out?
No, sometimes they do tours without me, and sometimes they ask me to do it, and it's not.
Pretty
It's a
rude.
casual relationship. It's an
I
open
see.
relationship.
All right, fair enough. Well, where did we meet? Because I was trying to remember this. Was it in Tasmania at a festival or something? I seem to remember Tasmania being involved.
I
Or
actually think my memory of when we first met was at the Big Day Out Festival that we both
that's
were
right.
on the same one.
Yes.
And I don't remember which one it was. I feel like it was maybe like Adelaide or something. And the only reason I
Yes.
remember that is because it had been a couple of big day outs. And then by that point, because Quan and Ben and Pete had been on so many big day outs, they were like, fuck this, we're going to the hotel after we played. And I stayed because I
That's
was like,
right.
come on, big day out.
Yeah. We partied
And
like
then,
it was 1992,
yeah.
as far as I remember. As far
Yeah,
as I
and that was the
sort of don't
day I
remember.
feel like I made like 23 new friends, and you were one of them.
I'm
And
the only one
then
that stuck around though, right?
yeah,
I was
that's
the only
right. You're
real
the
friend.
best one.
Yeah, thank you.
And I remember at the after party where like Quan and Ben and Pete came to the after party,
Oh
we
God.
we were all like, you made a really good impression on Quan.
I've actually spoken about this before. This is one of my most embarrassing moments. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me. Well,
No, you
I
were
do actually
totally
know what
fine.
was wrong with me. It's because
You
I
were
was like,
fine.
no, you know what it was though. I was first get like I was recently gotten, not that recently, but I was like recently gotten together with my now wife, and I was
Mm,
like, you know, when you're in the you just so in love and enthusiastic and crazy with love that you're just
yeah,
blurting out about stuff. And
yeah,
I was telling him all about, because she's Vietnamese and he's half Vietnamese, and I was
yeah.
also like, it's fair to say, like heavily inebriated, and I was like, just
Smashowed.
yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, Quan, if me and my wife have children, they're gonna be like you. What the fuck?
Do
It's
you
like
know,
the stupidest thing I've ever
I
said in my
remember
life.
that too, because I didn't actually think that was bad at all. I thought you were
Okay.
absolutely fine and charming as ever. But I remember that being a thing because you were like, oh my God, I totally made a fool out of myself. And that same day, I had talked to Vin from Midnight Juggernauts, who were also on that tour. And I was also smashowed. And I remember saying to him, I was like, man, if you and I had kids, they'd be fucking massive. And and his face was just like, I remember thinking, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Like I was just meaning we're both really tall.
I wasn't
And I think
propositioning
you
you.
and I,
I was just making a comment about genetics. I wasn't,
and then I think you and I both had that like, oh no
Well,
feeling.
do you know I also on that tour I also smoked a joint with Zach Della Rocca? How cool is that?
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. He didn't talk to me,
I
but he
had
passed the joint to me, and that was good
Well,
enough
I
for me.
think that same day that I made friends with you, I made friends with Tom Morello. And I remember
Look at us.
we were talking about like how this is like a massive name drop. We were talking about like how we were both pissed off that they weren't just playing like R&B at the after parties because they were playing really specific like jazzy kind of soul stuff,
Oh,
and we're
right,
like,
yeah.
we just want to hear Beyonce. And
You and
yeah,
Morella.
anyway, that was like
Well,
my
did you know? Because I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. I'm also a huge
yeah.
Arcade Fire fan, and I heard a story about how when Rage reformed for I don't think it was Big Day Out. It would have, because it was much after that. It might have been Splendor or something like that. But Rage Against the Machine, for all their kind of like hip, kind of being for the people and all this kind of stuff, they had this rule that backstage nobody was allowed to be out of their backstage tents while they
Oh,
made their way to stage. And
oh.
apparently the guy from Arcade Fire, as Rage Against the Machine were making their way to the stage, he jumps out of his trailer and goes, "Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me." I mean, you would have to find that
That's
funny,
so
right?
great.
Like, you can't be
That's
so full
really
of yourself.
great.
Hey, so I just want to point something out. When we were setting
Mm.
up, your situation was just like your colors all look really vibrant. Your space looks way more vibrant, and I don't like that. So I got some lighting. So
Oh,
I'm gonna make my setup better.
great.
So that's how I'm gonna talk to you for the rest of the thing.
Fantastic. It's really
Fantastic.
illuminating the bottom of your beard.
Yeah, it is actually. It's like it points out that I actually don't have a face up until that's where my actual face begins. The rest is all beard.
I love it.
I'm gonna put this
Hey,
on here.
it's so nice to see you, Josh. It's been ages.
It has been ages. There's a lovely thing, people at home, that Seja does every now and then. She just randomly sends a text to me, and I'm sure a bunch of her other friends, that just says, "What is it, like? You're
I
wonderful,"
say
and
you're a genius and everything's going to be okay.
and I can't tell you how they pop up at the times when I feel like I need them most. It's really lovely. So thank you for those.
I only do that to a very, very few select people. Not so you think you're in like a line of people
Oh,
that,
thank you.
it's like a very, very few select special friends.
Have you ever thought about like going professional with it? Like you could just set up a little text service with motivational and like nice things, and then you just send them to people randomly. But the subscription they can set it to random or to like once monthly or something like that, so they can be surprised, or if they're a sticker for sort of details like me, they can be like, it's the 4th of it's the 4th of the month. I'm getting my text today. Have you thought
Maybe
about
I
that?
should just set it. Maybe I should just set an alarm for Josh Pyke texts, like every 3 months on the 5th of
3 months.
that month. Maybe every 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks would be good, especially
Well,
now.
it sounds like you needed one today.
Yeah, so we were just chatting in the waiting room of this app that I'm using, um, about feel like, I feel like it's been kind of ebb and flows, but I felt like this week in particular I just hit a wall. Like, I've been doing good stuff, but it was just shitty stuff, like my bloody push bike got stolen off my front porch
No.
this week, and we live in a nice area, and my kids heard the front gate scrape open and they came running out of their bedroom. They're like, Dad, I think someone's out the
Oh,
front. And I went out
no.
the front and looked all around because I was worried about the car. Thought the car, if there was somebody out there, they'd smash the car windows or whatever. I didn't even look at the bike. And then 2 days later, I
Yeah.
realized my bike had been stolen. And like, one
Oh,
of the
that's
few
awful.
things that I've been enjoying about this whole period is like going out for long bike rides with the kids. So
Yeah.
that was a bugger. That felt like a real slap in the face.
Yeah, that's really shit.
What about you? How's your this period been for
Um,
you?
it's weird. I feel like I can't complain because I feel very lucky. I have a job. I have a lot of, like, almost too many hobbies. Um, I have a lot of things that I like to do, and I feel like I never have enough time to do them. So right now I feel finally like, it's almost taken a pandemic and everything for me to be cancelled, for me to actually work on my record, which
Yeah, right.
is a nice feeling. And I hate to say that's, I feel like creative when people are complaining about people like me.
No,
Where I'm
I
like,
mean,
oh,
I think
finally, I've got all this time.
yeah, I think any positivity to come out of this is good. I don't think you
Yeah,
should feel happy about that.
I feel lucky, but there's, yeah. I've been doing a lot of sewing. So you mentioned before, I make these little tiny felt instruments.
I'm
So I've
gonna
been
do
doing a lot of those.
I'm gonna do my screen sharing trick.
Yeah, great.
So you have a separate sort of business, I guess.
Yeah.
Called, what's it called? You introduce it.
It's called pulse width, and the reason why I picked that is because it's a nerdy synth term. It's like a kind of wave. Yeah, that's it. And it also has the word "so" in it.
Very
So I'm
good.
like really good at coming up with dumb names for things that are hard to remember. But yeah, so I basically make these little tiny felt replicas of real instruments. Although that one in the middle there is a full-size modular synthesizer, the one above the drum kit.
Oh my goodness! Wow, this one.
So that's the one I made for my album cover.
Yes.
So that took me about 4 months to make.
So do you do it all by? Is it all by hand, or do you use
Yeah, all
machines?
hand.
Bloody hell!
No, so my limitations that I set for myself are it's all hand. There's no glue, and yeah, it's all felt. So, well, mostly felt. I think that one had some pipe cleaners in it, and then sometimes I have like some, like some little like press studs or more mini brads.
And
But mainly it's all cotton and felt.
are they are they for sale? Do you sell them?
Yeah, so at the moment I just take commission, so people just email me or Instagram or Facebook me.
There
I
you
used
go.
to have a
Look,
shop on eBay, but it was
Sabrina
Yay!
Robertson. Wow, these are incredible. Thanks, Sabi.
That's nice.
These are incredible. What
Yeah,
else
I
have we
used to
got?
have an Etsy shop, and I got really stressed out because I was just selling too many.
Oh wow.
That
Well,
sounds like a humble brag.
yeah, it does.
Well, let me tell you, this is even more braggy. So when I first started making them, I used to just make them for people for presents, like just make them like something that they had in their studios.
Yeah.
And I tried to make Quan from Regurgitator's entire studio out of felt. So I made him like a little Gibson Firebird, and I made him a little like red SH-101. That might be his SH-101 there.
Yeah.
And I made him even like a little open laptop with Pro Tools on it. So I had like a
Oh,
little
wow.
wave.
That's cool.
And anyway, and that like he showed a lot of people, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you should sell these." And so I made a bunch of mini moogs, and I put them up on Etsy. And then whoever runs Kanye West's website posted them. So I, obviously like wasn't Kanye West, but whoever runs that blog
Yeah.
posted about them. And then I sold like a fuck ton. And I got so stressed out because, to answer Sabrina's question, they take me a really long time to make. So a mini moog might take me about like 7 hours or something.
Ah.
And I sold, like 50 of them in one day. And then that was really stressful.
Can
And
you
so
like
something that is
outsource it to some, like to some like, kids that like at a primary school or something like that, give them
maybe.
$5 an hour or something?
I just like have a kind of a weird control thing with them too, because it's good for quietening my mind, but it's also something that I really get into, that I get really obsessive over. And so I feel like it defeats the purpose if I get people to help. I don't know.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I actually, when this whole isolation thing kicked in, I ordered a Dremel. Do you know what a Dremel is? It's a handheld
No, what's a Dremel?
It's a handheld wood carving tool.
Ah,
And I've just been like so into the idea of it, except that it's never arrived.
no. Josh, I have a similar thing, but mine's an epic story. Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely. Let me just
Okay.
sit back. Let me just sit back and get comfortable.
So I have a tale of woe. I was at the Australian Open with my dad. This is how long ago it was. So it was like what, mid-Jan or something?
Yeah.
And I bought an Omnicord. Do you know what an Omnicord is? Yeah. I've been
Love 'em.
obsessed with them for ages. And I'd wanted one, and my friend Georgia Mooney, who you probably know.
I know Georgia. From all
So
our
Georgia
exes.
has one, and we had just had like a little holiday together, and we came up with this plan to start an Omnicord duo, just the two of us. And so I was like, well, I'm going to buy one. So I bought one on eBay at the Oz Open. And then, so that was January. Then I guess I didn't hear from the guy for ages that I bought it from. So it was getting shipped from America. And then he finally messaged me back, and he said, sorry for the delay. My mum's just died.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I mean, either this is like shroud in tragedy or lies, because immediately you're like, no, that's just a lie. Like, why would you tell someone on eBay that? Anyway, I feel bad judging him, but and then I didn't hear again for maybe 2 weeks or something, and I messaged him again saying, so just checking in, I hope everything's very like empathetic. Obviously, if his mama died, I didn't want to be a jerk. I was like, I'm really hope you're okay. Just wondering, what's happening. And he'd messaged me back like, oh, you'll never believe, I've misplaced the item. I can't find it. I was like, oh my God. His mum totally didn't die. Yeah. And then finally, he said, oh, and I've got this other one, which is the model above that, and that one has MIDI. And do you want that one? You can have it for the same price. And I was like, great, I love MIDI. Let's do it. So he sent me that one. I got a tracking number, and then it just didn't come for ages. I was tracking it. It had gone through like a couple of facilities, and then it had sort of stopped moving for maybe a month. And during this time, I guess COVID was starting to be a thing, like just starting, like maybe February.
Yeah.
And then I messaged him again. I was like, I haven't got it. Like, what's happening? Still in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to get a bag of rocks. Like, I'm not even going to get, And then eventually I looked up where it was, and it had accidentally gone to Afghanistan.
What? Oh, what? Like he clicked on Afghanistan instead of Australia or something on the drop-down menu.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it was a drop-down error. But I don't know whose fault it was. And I was like, fuck, we can't even get people out of Afghanistan. How am I going to get my Omnicord? And then, so I bought it in January. It's now gone back through a facility in the US. I think it went to like Minneapolis. And I haven't heard from it since. I don't know if I'm ever going to get it, Josh.
No, sometimes internet purchases are ill-fated. Years ago when the internet was still when eBay was like still a relatively fresh thing to do, I was recording. I think it was my first record with Wayne Connolly, who we both know well, and he was like constantly buying stuff on eBay, like preamps and stuff like this. And I've got a bunch of stuff in here in the studio that I bought around that time under his guidance, which I still use, and it's awesome gear. But I went rogue, and there was this. So everybody knows about Neve recording consoles, right? And so at that time, people were like breaking up Neve consoles and selling channel strips out of them, and you could get them, and then you could rack them up when you bought them, and have these great channel strips for recording. But I looked up and I found this eBay thing for I can't remember the name of the. I can't remember the name of the type of the type of console, but it was described as the Canadian Neve, right?
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this sounds amazing.
You're like, ooh.
Yeah, I was like, Neve, okay, I'm gonna get in there. And so I bought like $200 worth of these preamps. It's like pulled out of this console, whose name I can't remember. And I told Wayne, and he was like, I've never heard of it. It doesn't I don't think it's good. I was like, no, it's gonna be great, Wayne. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be jealous. Anyway, so I bought them, but they're made out of like solid metal, and so the shipping for it was like honestly, it was like $1,000 or something.
Oh no!
But I'd committed to buy. I couldn't say no then. So I got them sent out. And I was like, okay, I have to like commit to this. I'm gonna get them racked up, and I'm gonna sell them, and I'm gonna make a profit. Anyway, I got them, and I showed Wayne, and he was like, there's literally nothing you can do with these. There's nothing good about them. There's no like, in recording gear, you want big transformers in your preamps. That's what you want. Like, he was like, there's not even any transformers in this. So I ended up just putting them in a box on the street, and they got picked up by the recycling. And that was it. It was a fucking nightmare. It was a debacle.
Yeah.
And every time I see Wayne, even 20 years later, he's like, how's the whatever the name was? I can't remember. Oh, I wish I could remember.
Canadian Neve.
Canadian Neve.
Yeah, I feel like that's what's going to happen with this. I'm just going to get a pile of rocks, and it's going to say Omnichord on the box.
Yeah. Oh
well. It'll be a good story for when I actually start.
Hey,
when I actually start my Omnichord duo.
I actually used an Omnichord on my latest record.
Did you?
Which will be coming out in August, and you can listen to it then, and you can go.
Hey, I've really been. I love your new single.
Oh, I feel like
I should say I'm a fan of yours as a friend, but also a fan of your music. And
oh, thank you.
I always listen to stuff when you put it out, and it's always good.
That's very sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're a genius, and everything's going to be okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, speaking of funny stories though, or random stories, I just was thinking about you when we were setting this up, and I remembered that we actually caught up in Japan. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And you were over there playing with Regurgitator, and I was over there on my honeymoon.
That's right.
And the Gurge was playing this like super weird expat gig in this hall in Japan, and my now wife and I, or my then wife and I, because it was my honeymoon.
Yeah.
We came along, and it was awesome and weird. But I can't remember if I told you this, but we had like gotten terrible food poisoning like the day
you did.
of. But I was so determined because I love the Gurge so much, and I wanted to make up for my fuck up at the big day out with Kwan. I dragged it. We went along. We were like both really crook. And like we went, and so it was a great show. And then afterwards, I'm pretty ssure I went to Kwan like, you see, I told you.
She's being a meme.
I told you, man. No, I didn't do that. But yeah, it's good. It's good times.
I feel like it's my job to get you and Kwan together to like normalize your fear of whatever that was, because you're both very nice and very normal people.
No, but it's not. It's the thing is the reason that I was. Like, I don't get starstruck, right? I know lots of people that are like properly famous, and I don't get starstruck. But for some reason, he's the only guy that I've ever been starstruck by.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I mean, I was a massive Regurgitator fan, right? I remember going to see the Gurge at Narrabeen Sands when I was about 18, and
No.
I was right up the front, like just moshing. And I actually, I tried to duck under. So Narrabeen Sands, I don't know if you've ever went to that venue, but it like literally backed onto the beach, and you could go
Ah.
across this little sort of sand dune, and me and my friend we wanted to pop out onto the beach to smoke a little cheeky doobie, and like I ducked under the fence and I smashed my face on some kind of like cactus, like beach cactus
Oh
or something like that.
no.
And I got up, and my friend Dan was like, "Oh God, what have you done?" And there was blood like pouring down the side of my face. But I couldn't do anything about it, and I couldn't like stem. I couldn't. What's the word? Like stench or whatever. I couldn't stench the bleeding,
Yeah.
and I wanted to see the rest of the show, and so I went back in, and I just like started moshing and like went through the crowd, and everyone
Oh
got out of my way
man.
because I looked like a psychopath.
Yeah,
Great
like you watch
times.
out for that guy.
Good times. Watch
And
out
I
for that
bet
guy.
that probably made Quan go, "Ugh, what's that
He
guy doing?"
he probably remembered me. That's what it was.
Yeah, there's nothing like a
Bloody.
guy covered in blood at your gig to make you
Oh man, I mean
be
they
wary.
they were their crowds, especially in those early days, because I saw them loads of
Mm,
times, the Metro, and obviously the Big Day Out a couple of times, and they were their crowds were like
yeah.
pretty pretty rough and ready, I
Oh
gotta say.
yeah. Oh look, I've thought many times like I don't think there should be a girl in this band, but because sometimes people would just like grab me or like
No,
get me in
really?
a headlock or something, and
What in a
like
in a in a
I'm a tough person, but
do you mean they get
I
you in a
don't.
headlock in a like a come here mate kind of way, or in a like
Yeah, but like hard, like I'd want to be like, I'm a girl, help, like just
yeah, right.
look after me, please. But yeah, like after shows, people would like rough me up in a not in a gross way, but in a
Jesus
like
Christ.
you know what I mean? Like people would like punch you and like get you in a head, like yobs
Oh,
would do
yobs,
that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
not in a
you're talking
gross
about
way.
yobos. Yeah, yeah, yobos.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
I
so you're
didn't
talking about
mean that to
yobos. Yeah.
sound sinister. But sinister enough for me to go, oh, I don't like this. And also like in that I think I've said this before, maybe on my podcast, but there's a bit in I sucked a lot of cock, which is I guess a bit of a tongue-in-cheek song, but I think a lot of people don't see that song as being tongue-in-cheek. And there's a line in that song where Kwan sings, "You can get what you need, just get down on your knees." And I had a few gigs where people would like point at me in that bit. And so
Oh,
for ages
really?
after that, I always turned away during that line.
Oh, fucking hell. That's just
Yeah.
yeah, right.
People are
It's
gross.
people are gross. Yeah, it's
Mm,
disappointing, isn't it? It's disappointing when
yeah.
especially when you know the intention behind the lyrics. Like that is it's an
Yeah.
ironic song, and it's also like it's it's obviously it's not a protest song exactly, but it's pointing out the hypocrisy in
Mm,
the arts or whatever, and it is tongue in cheek. It's disappointing when people take things like that.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Uh, well,
Um, Sorry to mention that.
yeah, no, that's great. It's actually I was just going to tell you the title of the next single, and it's actually pretty misogynistic. So I might
Is it?
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
Is it just called "Get Down on Your Knees"?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's talking about gardening. It's actually talking
Oh,
about
good
gardening.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's talking about how your knees can really hurt when you're doing a lot of gardening.
Yeah.
That's when you got to get those like padded little boards
Oh
that old
yeah,
people use.
especially when you're in your 30s and 40s, you need some
Let's
support.
stick to 30s. Let's stick to 30s. Hey, I wanted to go back to what we were talking about earlier though, because about Sekiden and
Mm,
because so way before I met you and way before I met Kev Mitchell, I mean he knows this. I've admitted it to him many times. I wasn't starstruck when I met him, but I was as much of a Jebediah fan as I was as a Gurge fan. But
mm.
he's just not. He's just such a affable guy. I don't know. But
Yeah,
anyway,
he is.
whatever. I was always like a real fan of the fact that Jebediah had started an independent label years ago called Redline Records. A lot of people maybe don't remember this, but it's a great bit of Aussie history. And it was really cool because they started this label, and from memory, they signed like, they had a split EP with Jimmy Eat World or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they
I
signed
remember that.
Gyroscope was the first.
Yeah.
And I actually, in my old punk band, we like sent demos across and were having, sort of very early conversations with them about music as well. And then also, so Sekinen was out through. So was that like before Modular or during Modular or what?
It was after Modular. So our deal with Modular was we were on I think we were on a 2-album deal with Modular, and that was around the time when the Avalanches were signed, and it was like a really exciting time. And then the way that I remember it, I guess in the very early 2000s, or yeah, maybe like 2001, they signed Eskimo Joe, and that was when Modular became more of a subsidiary of EMI.
Yeah.
Whilst I think before that it was its own thing. And I think EMI had like tightened its belt and said, you can't spend this much money, because I think they'd spent a lot of money on Eskimo Joe and the Avalanches at that time. And I think, and like cut copy
Joe.
and yeah, but it was fun, like they were obviously getting returns from those bands. So, but I remember at the time, Steve Pav, the label head of the label, said to us, I'd still really want to put out your record, but I can't give you the advance at the moment. And so we kind of went, well, if we're financing the record, we want to take it somewhere and release it, independently. And at that time, we did a really big tour with Jebediah. And it was one of those tours that, I don't know, I'm sure you've been on tours like this where it was just like a complete love fest. Yeah. Like it was Sekiden, a band opened from Vancouver called the Saltines, and Jebediah, and the three of us bands were just like in love with each other, and everyone watched everyone's set every night, and it was just like one of those special tours, and they were really big shows, and it was just such a fun time. And I remember after that, Heath, who was Jebediah's manager at the time, he was, we had told everyone about our situation. They were like, well, we want to put it out because we've just started this label. So that's sort of how that happened. And it was great. And, I feel like they wished that album had done better, but I think at the time it it just seemed like it was a really nice fit, and they did everything they could. And, it was just a weird time in early 2000s indie rock.
So let's air it now. How was Kev Mitchell as a label mogul? How was he? Because I can't imagine him. I can't imagine him being like really across the finances and stuff like that, to be honest.
Well, no, I think we only ever talked to Heath. Like the only real contact we had with Jebs was as mates, and they would tell us that they loved the record. I think that was really the only. So I never got to see Kev as like a label manager, sadly. It would have been great. I would have loved it.
I imagine him with his golden locks, just like wearing a suit and tie, just pretending to type on a keyboard, almost like a cat playing a piano or something like that. Just it's not quite right.
Just like
I don't know. Yeah, the bottom line. I don't know. Hey, so speaking of music, you also release solo stuff. And you released an album. Have you done, is it 2 solo albums or 1?
Yes, I've done 2.
Yeah. But the one, so the most recent one is We Have Secrets.
No, that's the next. So the first one was We Have Secrets, but Nobody Cares. And the second one was called All Our Wires.
Our Wires.
Yeah, which was named after, like I said, I have a knack for names that are hard to remember. All Our Wires was like a play on, I wanted to, at the time, I wanted to untangle all my wires with everyone at the time. So I wanted to, I wanted to write about just like getting to be in a happy place and trying to sort out, the good from the bad and whatever.
And do you record it all at home where you are now?
So this is actually a studio that is new. So I built this studio just in the last year. But
Can
before
you
that,
like can you do your phone around? Because you
yeah,
showed me before, it looked so cool. That's why I got the
synthesizers,
festoon lights.
synth,
Oh
pedals,
my god.
guitar.
Woo!
That's it.
I love
um,
studios.
I know, I love you gotta come visit this one
Yeah,
when
okay.
if we're ever allowed to travel again.
Yeah, if we're ever allowed to cross borders again.
So yeah, my first one was basically all demos, and then my brother worked on it and made some of it. You know, my brother's an audio engineer, Vogel.
And
So
he was Sekiden, right? He was in Sekiden
yeah,
as
he
well.
played drums in Sekiden, and then he like went on to tour with Cut Copy forever. He like did all of their stuff. Anyway, so he made it sound great, and then my second album we did in a bunch of different studios. Some of it at home. Most, it's easy to record synths at home, but everything
Yeah.
else is kind of a bit harder.
So could I trouble
Yeah.
you for a song?
Yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna try and play something on the guitar, which I hopefully, you know what? It's I don't know if you feel like this too, but I feel like I've been complaining about people doing live streams and it sounding shit for weeks, and now I'm gonna do it.
let's see what happens. I requested one of your songs, but then is this one of your songs or this is a German?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
you are German also, or you were
yeah.
born in Germany, right?
Yeah, I'm still German. I'm not a citizen here. I still have my German passport.
And wie
So,
geht's? Wie geht's?
ja, gut, danke.
Yeah. Uh,
Ja, wie geht's dir?
uh, so. Um, ich habe eine groß Hunger, aber
Oh,
I ate dinner, so ich habe nein groß Hunger
kein großen Hunger.
anymore. Wie komme ich am besten zum Post, bitte?
Do you remember that episode of I don't know if episode is even the right word. Do you remember that Monty Python sketch where they had rewritten the dictionary, but it was all like, "Please fondle my buttocks," and
I
then
do, yeah, I do, yeah,
yeah,
I do.
my hovercraft is full of eels.
Yes, I do. So
Yeah,
this is you said so when you were telling me which song you were going to play, you mentioned that you're
yeah.
meant to be in Germany right now.
Yeah, so I was meant to be going to Germany, and I would be just arriving now, which is a bit sad. So I'd had a holiday planned where one of my best friends was going to be her surprise 40th birthday, and her family had hired a villa in northern Germany
Ooh.
that we're going to go to, and I was going to play some music and also and just hang out and then after that, I was going to go to LA and do some podcast interviews.
Oh, cool.
And then after that, and yeah, and in LA, Georgia Mooney and I were going to have a holiday together in LA. And we'd hired this really beautiful house and
Oh,
everything.
wow. Yeah.
And then I was going to go to Vancouver to see my brother and his family. So I'm pretty sad that I'm not getting to do that. But also, I can't complain. But so I
Yeah. Well,
thought,
you can.
yeah.
You shouldn't feel like you can't complain. I mean, that's a huge thing I mean, it's like I saw in my diary in my iCal a reminder popped up today with my flights for Perth, and I was meant to be playing in WA, and it's like, I mean, you can complain about that
Yeah.
stuff for sure.
Well, yeah, how do you feel? You're meant to be on your tour right now?
I mean, I feel pretty devo about it because, I was saying this to you before, but it just feels like I know that I'm not releasing music into a vacuum. Like I can clearly see that people are listening to it, and like I know that there are people who are watching this now that are loving the music from the feedback, and I appreciate it. But the thing for me has always been that the real barometer for whether or not something is connecting with people is when you play it live and they sing it back to you and they respond to it. And it's also little things like, the organic reach that you get when you play a show and there's 200 people there and they all post something about it on their Instagram or Facebook feeds or whatever. And you know, like I've been around a long time as a musician. I'm still passionate about my fan base building. So I'm extremely grateful and lucky to have a really beautiful, solid core fan base. You know, I can't complain. I don't want to complain. But at the same time, like whenever I release music, I want to build that audience, and I just find
Yeah.
it much harder to do that without touring. That's the bottom line. You
Yeah.
know, like on every tour, you know, every record that I've ever done, I've done 7 records or whatever it is, and every single time you go out on the road, you know, I play here and then I'll go over to England and Europe, and it just works. You know. Whoa!
Yeah.
Did you see the lights in the background just move?
Yeah. What just
What the
happened?
fuck was that? Oh shit! That
Guys.
scared me. I think there's a ghost in my studio.
I thought it was like an open window or something.
I don't have an open window in here.
Oh my God.
That is. Imagine if you just saw something like
Oh my
reach
God.
across. I just got shivers. Oh, that's creepy.
Imagine if
That's
now
really
it was
creepy.
behind me.
It is behind you. Oh shit, man! I actually feel like totally creeped out.
Oh no.
I feel
but
like
you
something.
Ugh. But you did just put up those lights, right? So they were probably
No,
just hanging on a.
I put them up like couple of weeks ago.
I'm freaked out.
What is that?
Also, I'm kind of sitting in
Oh my
in
God,
the
what's that
dark
sound?
in my.
What is that sound? It's just a shaker, guys. Oh man.
Oh, scary.
All right. Well,
Well,
play me
I
a
hope you
song
don't have a
to
ghost.
get rid of the bad spirits.
So yeah, I thought I would play the song because I've been a bit sad that I can't go to Germany, and yesterday I made some mulled wine because I miss
Ooh,
Germany, and
nice.
it reminds me of Germany at Christmas. So I thought maybe I would do a German themed thing.
Yeah.
So, and also,
Yeah,
just
das
on a
ist
side
gut.
note, that's good. And while I was waiting for this to start while I was sitting in here, I had a beer and I wrote a little German chats with mates song.
Did you?
So
I always ask people to make a Chats with Mates theme song. If I could get a
I
German
mean,
one, it's
yeah.
gonna go viral in Germany. This is gonna be great.
I mean, it took me like I have to admit it took me about 33 seconds, but I'm gonna play it for you after this.
That just proves you're genius. That's good.
All right, so I'm gonna take my headphones out and play this song.
Now remember, you got to move back a little bit. Remember we discovered. Yeah.
Can you hear that okay? All right. Wir sind Sekunden vom Start und sind nicht mehr in Gefahr. Man sieht's in den Augen, du kannst es mir glauben. Wir sind Minuten vom Ende. Es ist egal, wo wir rennen. Über Stock und Stein, du holst mich nie ein. Ist es Zeit zum Verabschieden? Du bist in jedem Lied, das ich kenn. Oh, die Wolken, die haben es mir versprochen, dass du es weißt. Und was es genau bedeutet, du hast so viele Sorgen, aber vielleicht morgen sind die Sorgen vorbei. Jetzt fangen wir wieder an. Ich glaube, du bist dran.
war Stock und Stein, du holst mich nie ein. Ist es Zeit zum Verabschieden? Du bist in jedem Lied, das ich kenn. Oh, die Wolken, die haben es mir versprochen, dass du es weißt. Und was es genau bedeutet, du hast so viele Sorgen, aber vielleicht morgen sind die Sorgen vorbei. Blätter fallen von den Bäumen, unsere Augen sind offen und wir können wieder träumen. Und wir rennen auch im Regen, unter grauen Wolken rennst du manchmal mir entgegen. Ist es Zeit zum Verabschieden? Du bist in jedem Lied, das ich kenn. Oh, die Wolken, die haben es mir versprochen, dass du es weißt. Und was es genau bedeutet, du hast so viele Sorgen, aber vielleicht morgen sind die Sorgen vorbei.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
So a few people are asking what is that song called? What is that song called?
I missed everything that you just said.
I said a few people
Except
have
for
asked.
what is that song called?
Yes, now there's a weird delay.
Oh, hang on.
Are you seeing the delay as well? Anyway, you're getting you're getting lots of clap. Look at that.
Oh, that's nice. Oh.
That
song is called Die Wolken. Oh, thanks everyone.
And what does that mean?
It means the clouds. And I wrote that song because I try and write one German song for every album. And I really wanted to do that song as a duet. So I sang that song as a duet with Robert Forster from the Go-Betweens on my album. Because whenever Robert and I see each other, we live in the same city, so we see each other, semi-regularly. We always speak in German because his wife is German. Yeah.
It's weird. My wife speaks fluent German as well.
I feel like we've spoken German. Yeah. I'm a massive fan of your wives too. And can you tell her that I miss her too?
I've only got one, mate.
Your wife, apostrophe S.
Yeah, I will. I'll say good day. She's probably watching. Hello, if you're watching up in there.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, I have really fond memories of, meeting you guys, and she was wearing a little hat, like a shark on her head. Do you remember
God, that was Splendor.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So that was that Splendor, and we had. I think that was the year of the Basement Birds played there, or.
No, I feel like you were playing.
Yeah, maybe I was playing. I don't know, but we had a massive night after. Remember those after parties at the the art house or whatever it was called, and that shark hat belonged to Dappled Cities. Remember the band Dappled Cities? And they always had the shark hat on their snare drum or something like that. And I got it somehow. My wife was wearing it for ages, and I was wearing it, and nobody took it back off us, and it was a big night. And then a couple of days later, I got a text from Tim in Dappled Cities, and he was like, "Can we get the shark mask back? It's actually really important to us, and it's part of our stage show." And I was like, "Oh shit, we still had it. We still had it."
Well, I'll always remember her with the little shark head.
I'll tell her. Hey, so we're gonna wrap this up soon. It's an hour, but you mentioned your podcast.
Yes.
So tell me about that, because I did know you do one, but I don't
Yeah,
know
because you've
about
been on it.
What?
You've been on it, you fucking
Oh
idiot.
yeah, of course. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't.
It's
I
fine.
don't recall. I just probably morphed
It was
into
a
just
while ago.
a normal talk that we've had at some point.
No, well, do you remember at the end of each? So I have a podcast called Hearsay, which is another one of those things that's difficult to remember because it's HEARSEJ, because my name is SEJA, obviously. Anyway, so I have a podcast called Hearsay where I have a different musician or comedian or artist or whoever on, and at the end of each chat, I ask everyone what their strangest show experience is.
Oh yes.
And you had an amazing story about accidentally punching someone in the throat.
I do remember. I do remember this, and I remember that night, and it was fucking. That was at a gig in San Remo. I don't know if you've ever played that place. It's a rough as guts show, and yeah, I mean, long story short, it was the end of a massive, really grueling tour, and these people like invaded the stage, and they were dancing all around, and that's kind of okay. Like I don't mind that so much. I mean, it's not that cool. Like I didn't invite them on stage, but they were up on the stage and they were dancing, and but this one guy like just kept on getting up in my grill, and he like stomped on my pedal, so he unplugged my guitar, and then I was like, oh, okay, and I
didn't he? Didn't you say he kept singing, "Hey Mickey, you're so fun"?
Oh, that's right. Yes. So that's right. So I was in the middle of the hill. It was like, and they're like, "Hey, Mickey, you're so fun." I was like, at first I was like, "Oh yeah, look, Sabrina, yeah, that's right, you were there." Oh yeah, that was heavy. Anyway, and so this guy just kept on fucking with me. And he was up in my grill, and he was like, had his arm around my shoulder, and I just like, I'm not proud of this at all. I've never been in a fight. I don't like violence.
No, you're a gentle,
I just felt
gentle
like
person.
my personal space was being invaded, and I just turned around and I punched him in the throat. And it wasn't a punch. It was this kung fu move, because my son was studying kung fu at the time, and so I'd seen this move like every week, and you do that. It's just like just a sharp.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that.
Sounds painful.
Yeah, and he went down, and then the security got him off stage. And to my credit, if I can give myself credit,
yeah,
I just like did it, and you can never really see the top from the bottom. Oh man,
I love that story. I think I love that story because it's so out of character for you. I can't imagine you ever being violent towards anyone.
No,
yeah,
it's happened one other time though. Another time I was playing at Jindabyne, and these guys started fighting in the crowd right in front of me. I was playing the song Gold Mines, which is a really mellow song. And this guy was just headbutting this other guy, and I just lost my shit because I just can't stand that stuff. And I grabbed and I was above him because he was in the crowd, and I grabbed his hair and I just like pulled his hair back so that he would stop headbutting this guy, and I just held him there until the security came and got him.
Oh my God.
I don't like that stuff.
No, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And you're doing the best that you can in that moment. And I don't know. But what I love about
is to throat punch something.
It's like a kung fu.
Yeah.
But I love doing the podcast because everyone has a story that is so insane, and I get to talk to them for a while beforehand, so I feel like by the time I get to the story, I'm already like 45, 50 minutes into having a chat with someone, and we've got a really nice sort of like a nice dialogue happening, and then not to be calculated about it, because I'm genuinely interested in other people, and I love hearing everyone's stories and origin stories and stuff, but I really love asking that question after that amount of time, because I feel like most people by that point have calmed down a bit and have stopped being formal, and have just like got into a nice chat. And I think that like my favorite story, and the story pretty well too, but my favorite all-time story is Kevin Mitchell's, because his story is so insane that like I honestly like can't even believe that it happened, except that I've seen the video evidence.
Which one is this? Which story is it?
when he sang at the closing ceremony of
Oh my
the
God.
Chinese Olympics.
When he
I
shared
can't
that with
even.
me like privately, like so before he'd like decided to ever talk about it.
Yeah,
And I honestly, I almost wet myself. I was
yeah.
laughing
I
so hard.
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And if you listen to the podcast, so I think it was one of my first ones. I think I talked to Kev like maybe my third or fourth ever podcast. I was literally speechless. Like I think I said in the podcast, like I have so many questions, and then you can hear me go, like I couldn't even.
So
Yeah, it's
everybody
amazing.
at home who's watching, go back and find the podcast. It's probably one of the
Yeah,
first episodes. How
it's
many
one of the
episodes
first
have you
ones.
done?
I've done 51. I just did one with Paul Dempsey that I just put out this week, which was my first quarantine one.
Mm.
And it was great. He was a great person to talk to because he's got kids. You know, he's talking about homeschooling and
Yeah. He's
he
great,
was
Paul. I don't know him so
yeah.
well, but I've spent I've done a couple of things with him, and we actually played at this gig in at Parliament House to lobby for more funding for the arts and stuff like that, and we ended up staying up all night after the show with it was me, Gordy, you know, the artist Gordy, and who else? It was anyway. I can't remember everyone was there, but you know how he's like a oh, the lights just went out. What is going on?
You got a ghost, man. You got an electricity ghost.
Yeah, they actually have gone off. I just checked the plugs.
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
I'm gonna take them off. Anyway, he loves like science and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking, and then he just like went into this long story about like black holes and stuff, and I was like,
Oh,
okay.
he's so smart. He was really, and what I loved about him too was I don't know him that well either, but I know Clint really well, the drummer from Something for Kate, because I've played in bands with him before. There we go.
Yeah, I'm back.
And so, you know, like I know a little bit of the history of Something for Kate, but I loved hearing how, you know, how he's got perfect pitch. He can just he can listen to a song and play it. Like he doesn't have to figure it out. He can't change a key to a song because it hurts his brain.
Yeah, he's like a proper sort of like genius guy.
He's a total genius. It was incredible. And also, speaking of homeschooling, he said he gets his kids up and he makes them have like get changed into their school uniforms every morning.
Yeah,
and
we know a few people that do that because it just kind of keeps them in the
keep them in the zone.
You know? I was going to say something. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. You mentioned that you had a German Chats with Mates theme song.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Wait, I might play it with my headphones in. Is that all right? Okay. So I've translated Chats with Mates is Klönen is chats and Kumpel is mate.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool. So not sprechen Sie Freund? That's pretty close.
I mean, you could translate it to that too, but this is what I came up with. Okay. I might put it down a bit. Klönen mit Kumpeln, es ist schon dunkel, du bist hier mit mir. Du bist mein Kumpel, oben bis unten, Prost, wir trinken Bier. That's it.
That is definitely the best one that we've had.
So I translated that loosely to Chats with Mates. It's already dark. You are here with me. You are my mate. From top to bottom, cheers, we're having a beer.
Wow. So that rhymes in German, right?
Yeah.
That must be quite weird. So this kids book that I wrote, Lights Out Leonard. So that's been it's been released in a bunch of territories, which is awesome. But it's been released it is going to be released in Germany. I jumped the gun. I said that it was, but it's out in June. But anyway, but yeah. So they've translated and everything. I find that concept of communicating the nuance and everything of the original text
Yeah.
into another language, it must be very, very difficult.
It's really hard. I've tried to translate. I tried to translate a song for Ed Cooper a while ago, because he's got German heritage too, Ed Cooper from the Saints, and he wanted me to translate one of his songs, and it was hard because you want to translate it literally, but then it kind of loses all its poetic meaning. So then you have to take a little bit of poetic license, and then it's difficult because you don't know if the artist then would agree with your interpretation. And it's a tricky thing.
I think the hard thing, it's harder when it rhymes. So like Lights Out Leonard isn't a rhyming book, but I've got a few other kids books coming out in this year. Yeah, this year and next year. I've got 3 books coming out through Scholastic in the next little while. But they're all rhyming books, so it'll be interesting to see how that happens. But we got to wrap this up. So I'm going to play a song for you, and you requested a particular song.
Yes. So I feel like every time you ask anyone, like on the internet or, you know, like at shows, I always request this song, which is and I like it because you sing really low in it, and I think you sing really beautifully low. And I also think it's kind of funny that the song that I like is the song that, like, you're not doing what you always do. Like, you know how you've made a career around this thing that's really successful for you? I like when you do something else.
Well, I'm going to play it. So this is a song called When Your Colors Go. Now, before I play this, I don't know how you do this, but I will just request, if you guys watching want to, I don't know if you already are or if you have to be to watch this anyway, but can you subscribe to my YouTube channel, please? Thanks. And
I did it before.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And also, if you guys who are watching don't follow me on Instagram, can you please follow me on Instagram? Thanks. All right, so here we go. This is a song called When Your Colors Go. I'm going to put on these effects. You tell me if this works. Hello.
Yeah.
Is it working? All right, cool.
Sounds great.
Here we go. Oh, sorry, that was wrong. I am the color of an autumn flurry of leaves in a breeze for you, and I am a study in hues of grey and the blue of a broken day for you. And on the hurry, the press of our bodies and the embers of an afternoon, and I'm spending money on something stupid, trying to believe I belong to you. No, when your colors go, they won't come back. Strip me right out, so maybe you would welcome that. And I don't know when your colors go, but when your colors go, they won't come back. They won't come back. Maybe you would welcome that. No, we linger in the cold comfort of each other in your bedroom, and I am the color of something borrowed, trying to believe I'm something new. Oh, when your colors go, they won't come back. You strip me right out, so maybe you welcome that. And I don't know where your colors go, but when your colors go, they won't come back. They won't come back. Maybe you welcome that. And in this garden we were barely kept. Oh, that's not right, sorry. And in this garden come back, maybe you'll welcome that. And I am the color of an autumn flurry of leaves in a breeze for you. And I am the color of something. No, shit, I fucked up the end bit as well. And I am studying something. How can I recover from this?
Just noise out.
No. Well, it's the ghost. I'm scared. I'm too scared to play. Look in the reflection of my guitar. Can you see the reflection of my guitar?
Yeah.
It's a ghost. And I am studying and I am the color of an autumn flurry of leaves in a breeze for you. And I am studying hues of grey and the blue of a broken day for you.
Yay! You did it.
Oh man! In my defense.
The good thing about having a synthesizer, you can just noise out if you fuck up. Just like.
Well, in my defense, I haven't played that song for a mighty long time.
It was beautiful, and thank you so much for playing it for me. I appreciate it, and I love that song.
Thank you.
When you have those songs where you just listen to it over and over and over again. That was definitely one of those songs for me where I just love it. Hey, I had something that I wanted to talk to you about really quickly before, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
As on a serious note, because you're such an advocate of artists, and to make sure artists have their voices heard and get paid properly and everything. What's your opinion on? I was having a conversation with someone recently who, as soon as this COVID thing hit, I started subscribing to people's Patreons and making sure, because I feel really lucky. I have a job that's not in the arts as well. So as much as I feel like I identify as an artist, I'm also really lucky that I have like an extra source of income that doesn't rely on the arts. So I started subscribing to people's Patreons because I could. And then I was talking to someone about it, who basically said, like, well, why should you subscribe if you've made the decision to be a responsible adult that has another job, and these other people are refusing to do that and just trying to be an artist. What's your opinion on that? Because I just I have a bleeding heart, and I obviously especially if they're friends, I would want to support them. But what's your opinion on that?
I mean, my opinion would be.
Oh, you've still got your Space Echo on.
Thank you. If I'm going to answer seriously, I can't be booming out. So I think I would probably take issue with your friend or whoever it was' statement that that artists have chosen to not be responsible adults and get other jobs as well. I mean, the bottom line is, as you well know, it takes, it can take. I mean, I was doing every other shitty job in the world until I was 27 before I was able to, become a full-time musician. And when I became a full-time musician, I was paying myself $200 a week for the first 3-4 years. So, and that's at a time when everybody else that I knew had graduated uni and was getting really good jobs and stuff. So yes, I did make a decision to pursue music, and this is just speaking for myself. But it's not like I did it as an irresponsible decision. I was working my ass off to do that and upskilling and learning other skills, learning sound engineering, learning about production, learning about running shows and stuff like that. And it is a tough one. I don't think anybody owes anybody a living, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if an artist it's my understanding of Patreon, I don't have a Patreon account. I personally wouldn't feel comfortable having one. I feel like the sort of stage that I am personally at as a career artist, it wouldn't feel right for me to to have a Patreon account, but it's all up to everybody that wants to do it. But my understanding of this of the thing is, it's not just saying, I'm an artist. Here's my handout. I can't make any money right now, so give me money. They're providing things for that subscription fee, right? So they have to give, live shows or stream shows or content. They have to create content. Creating content is really time consuming, and if there's a fan base out there that's willing to, patronize that artist, then so be it. I mean, it's a decision that a bunch of adults are making to do this together.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with it at all. I mean, I would have more of a problem of artists just saying, I've lost all my gig income, I need money, pay me, that's not right. JobKeeper has been good for a lot of artists, but a lot of musicians and artists completely slip through the cracks of that subsidy because of all our weird business structures. And the reality is, it's pretty hard to fucking go out and get a job if you're not making any money right now. Like, where are you going to go and get a job if you've spent your whole life training to be a musician?
That's right.
Most musicians go and work in hospitality. You can't do that right now. So I think it's tough, but I think that, I find it distasteful when people say like, artists are just looking for a handout. We're not looking for a handout, and we also it should be just said and said and said again that we contribute a fuckload to the economy.
Yeah.
We create jobs everywhere we go. Whenever we go through a town and play, we're basically leaving a trail of jobs, That's the reality. We're not all just like out there smoking bongs and drinking
dead
and playing
shit.
shows,
Yeah. No, I agree.
tough
And
one.
but I immediately, as soon as this thing happened, I started, I subscribed to a few Patreons and I started buying local records and then I had this conversation and I was like, I don't agree with that, but I wonder how many people do. I wonder how many people do think that artists are just putting their hand out and all people are refusing to get real jobs, so to speak.
I mean, I think
because,
the idea of refusing to get a real job is stupid because, like, if an artist, and I know plenty of them, and I know you do as well, like, artists with names that you wouldn't expect this to be the case, with profiles that you wouldn't expect this to be the case, who have had to subsidize their incomes over the years with real jobs, and we do it all the time. If I needed to, I would go and work at Coles to make sure that my kids had food on the table. I haven't needed to do that, but I have no problem with getting a real job if I have to. At this point in my career, I've been able to navigate it in such a way that I don't need to do that. But man, if I had to, of course I would. The bottom line is, like, you're providing a service. So Patreon is like, it's not just them saying, give me money for nothing. It's like saying, it's the old idea of patrons, like Renaissance artists like Mozart and Beethoven, they actually had the same patron. The same guy was their patron, and he basically had them on a retainer to create the amazing, history-changing works that they produced. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I think, like, the yobs that we were talking about before, I've just received a message. Yes, as my wife has just pointed out in a text message to me, because she's obviously watching this, isn't the point that being a creative professional is a real job? Yes, thank you for articulating what I've been trying to say.
Yes,
the point is that being a creative professional is a real job. Of course it is. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, I
Once
agree.
again, I go to my brain's trust.
Well, she is a lawyer, so she's
not a lawyer. She's
like
not a lawyer, but
what is she?
we can talk about this off. We can talk about this off air.
She's smarter than us. That's the point I was making.
She's smarter than us for sure.
But yeah, I just wondered about that because I found myself thinking about it a lot but not to a point where I was like buying into it, because I was obviously still like trying to help people, because I feel, and I know you feel the same way, we're in a lucky position where we can help other artists and anyway.
But I think it's something that's worth bringing up often, because we need to kind of, like, if we can get through this period and kind of point out that the arts is so important, and we have gained ground with the government, but we need to basically point out that we're being given some good wins in terms of money being pumped into the arts, but it's coming from a really shit baseline. Like, that's the thing that people don't realize. It's coming from a really bad baseline. Australia's been like really poorly funded in the arts for years. And the other thing is well, hang on, I've just received another text. No, it's okay. Oh, hang on. Hey, what's this? Isolation without music would actually be hell.
Yeah.
Grateful for all. Thank you. Well, thank you.
Hey, have you been relying on any like live streams, or like what's getting you through this? Have you been getting any joy from ISO specific content?
Well, not ISO specific content, but I mean, it's just content all the time. Like all the stuff that is getting me through this is like binge watching Fear the Walking Dead and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, that's creative content.
That's art.
It's all art. But
something that's really been getting me through is Jeff Tweedy from Wilco puts on a show every day.
Right.
And it's on his wife's Instagram, and I think it's called Stuff in Our House on Instagram, at Stuff in Our House, and it goes from 12 till 1 every day, so that's nighttime in Chicago, but midday to 1 o'clock, and it's just him and his family, just the Tweedy family singing songs together, and it's so lovely. He does it every day, and I try and watch it when I can, and it brings me a lot of joy.
Well, I think
thank God.
It's about bringing joy, but one just last thing before we go, is I have mentioned this before, but when I did that Q&A thing, which was super stressful, but
amazing.
Afterwards, I made the mistake of looking at the comments, and somebody had said, when you pay tax, you can get subsidy. And it's like, man, like what do you think artists are doing?
What do you mean?
We're running businesses.
I know. I have friends who pay like $100,000 worth of tax every year who are musicians. Like, what do you mean when you pay tax?
If you're running a business, you pay tax. Everybody out there, I know you guys who are watching this know that. But like when you run a business, you're paying tax, and you're also employing lots of people and paying people superannuation and stuff like that. So I think it's changing the the idea. It's changing the idea that a lot of people still have out in the public, that artists are proper business people. We are. We also need to be creative, and I guess that's the sort of more forward-facing part of what we do. But behind the scenes, we're small business people, just as all creatives are: designers, illustrators, writers.
That's right.
Anyway, that was super
I'm
heavy.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry
heavy.
To get serious at the end. But here are the things I regret about our conversation. I regret talking about the yobos. I regret saying the using the phrase roughed up, because I didn't really mean that in a bad. I meant it in a jokey way, not. I meant it in a jokey way, not in a rapey way, and so I.
This is not getting less heavy. This is not getting less heavy.
I regret that.
Anything else?
That's the only thing I regret.
What about in life? What about in just life? Any regrets in life?
No, I'm lucky. I've got a good life.
Good.
What about you?
Eh? Can't complain.
Any regrets?
I regret. Actually, I do. I sometimes regret getting my ears stretched, my earrings stretched back in the day.
Oh yeah, yep.
How do I can't move my hand in reverse. Yeah, because now I can't really just take my earrings out.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I'm not sure I've ever noticed your stretched ear holes.
Yeah.
Maybe I have.
I stretched them with a chopstick back in the day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's one of those guys. All right.
I'm sure I have other regrets, but anyway, I'm glad that we had a little bit of a serious chat at the end.
We should just do another one called Serious Chats with Mates.
I know.
Just a separate series.
Yeah.
Where we pick a really serious topic every time. What else would you like to? And the next one is just regrets. Serious chats
regret.
with mates. Regrets. You know what I regret? I regret inviting you on my show. No, I don't. I'm just joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I regret calling you a fucking idiot as well,
When?
which came out. Well, you said you didn't realize that you'd been on my podcast, and I said, you've been on it, you fucking idiot. I regret.
Oh, that's all right.
I regret that adjective.
Can we just get out of this regrets thing? I have no regrets. All right.
Because I love you. You're my mate.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to talk to you.
Chats with mates. Chats with mates.
Chats with mates.
Right.
Klönen mit Kumpeln.
Guten Nacht. Das ist richtig? Richtig? Guten Abend.
Danke.
Guten Abend.
Gute Nacht. Schlaf gut.
Schlaft guten. Du.
Bis bald.
Du auch. Schläfen.
Gut. Schlaf.
Ich aber kleine Kranken.
You're a bit sick?
Yeah. Well, I'm not. Just
Oh.
don't worry, everybody. I'm not. I don't
Oh,
have the
God.
virus. Okay. All right.
Oh, God. Hey, nice to talk to you.
You too.
No regrets.
No regrets. See ya.